Hey guys, welcome to Inversation Podcast, the podcast that lets us tell our stories our way. I know it's been a little minute, but we back and I'm excited to catch up with y'all. So let's get right into it. Okay. So real quick, I want to jump into the mental health segment and just give you guys an update on what's been going on with me. Okay, so as of late, I have been in this developmental phase. It's more like a metamorphosis, if you will. Like I've been feeling myself expanding beyond just the confines of what my current reality is. Okay, so get this. I now look at myself as more than just my physical being. I see myself as the spiritual being that's housed within this physical reality, right? This 3D reality. And in knowing that and understanding that I am more than just my physicality, it's been causing me to expand in ways that I hadn't really thought about before. So, as a life coach, of course, I am well aware of all the different compartments or components that make up who we are as people. But these days, I've been seeing it on an even deeper level. So, more so, how I exist on this particular plane with the reality that, or realities, shall I say, that exist within it. But even more so, how I exist beyond this third dimension. So knowing that within this vessel, this body of mine is more than just masculine, but feminine as well. So what does that look like to me? How can I develop that in a way to where I'm comfortable within this male masculine body to be able to express those different components of myself? And then in addition to that, the multiple layers that exist within who I actually am. So the sexual side, the intelligent side, the hard worker, the disciplined, the organized guy, like having all of these different components of who I am, meshing them together into the one higher being that I am, which is that aligned physicality, spirituality, mental state that everyone aspires to get to at some point, hopefully, if we can make it. That's kind of the space that I've been in as of late. And it's been refreshing because it takes you out of that space of limitation and puts you in a brand new universe because now you not only see yourself as this little being that's able to function with the reality that's around you, but you see yourself through the eyes of God. So now I'm able to pick and choose how I want to manifest in any given situation based upon what I want to manifest. You know what I mean? What part of myself needs to be present in this moment. And it has been so refreshing. And it's been building my confidence in myself, not only in the way that I look, but the way that I feel, the way I sound, the way I trust myself, the way I trust what's going on in my mind, which ties into what we're going to talk about today, but we're going to get to that a little later. But it's just really been opening my eyes to me, the true understanding of who I am. Because I think at one point in my life, I was really forcing myself into this little box, keeping myself moving forward, just like in I go with the flow, whatever the wind, wherever the wind takes me type of mentality instead of taking the wheel and navigating my own life at a full scale, so getting to know all of the buttons, what each button does, and learning how to use how and when to utilize those particular features of myself. So now, like, it's been refreshing, like I said earlier, to just sit in that confidence and expound upon it and start to really decipher through who I want to be at this moment. And I think that started to happen when I turned 33 on my birthday. And ever since then, it's just been a go. It's been like a roller coaster of, discovery. For today's hot topic conversation, we are going to be talking about angels versus demons. Okay. So when I think about angels versus demons, I think about, the biblical sense. So these creatures that will come and speak to you or come to you in dreams to speak to you and let you know how you should move or what you should do or influence your actions and behaviors, right? I always think about when angels came to visit um, some of the figures in the Bible, they would teach them new things or give them a word from God. And how when demons would come, they would influence their behaviors or try to trick them and fool them into doing things that they probably shouldn't do. And when I look at that concept outside of religion or religious viewpoints, it makes me see it very differently. And especially when you look through the lens of science um, and philosophy, it gives you a higher understanding of it, if you will. So, if everything in this universe is vibration, if we, our physical selves, what we see, what we hear, what we touch, taste, smell, if all of that is vibration, and we exist on a particular frequency at any given time, mentally, emotionally, physically, then it would stand to reason that these angels or demons would just be our mindset at different frequencies. So, what would the true voice that exists within us be versus like an intrusive voice, a voice that may be positively stimulated or negatively stimulated. And so I think even in the concept of those old style cartoons that you'll see where the little angel pops up on the shoulder and the demon pops up on the shoulder, and then you hear the actual voice of the character, or the main voice of the character, shall I say, speaking, just trying to weigh out options. And so I think from that lens, it gives you a little bit of a deeper look into that whole situation. So, like, are you truly being influenced by an outer body source, or some outer source that is coming down and communicating to you and telling you what to or not to do? Or are you just living on a different frequency at the moment and intrusive thoughts coming in, or thoughts that your mind just creates to try to keep you safe and things of that nature. And so when we really break it down to a science, knowing that those vibrations exist, and knowing that we exist on those vibrations at any given time, it can serve to reason that if we're in a positive vibration or a high flying vibration, then our thoughts might be a little bit more high flying, if you will, or more angelic, is a better term. And if we're in one of those low vibrational states and we feeling depressed, we feeling like life just don't have our best interests at heart, then of course we might start listening to some of those negative intrusive thoughts. I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes. This is not my art isn't good enough, or whatever the case may be. And it's really up to us as the master of our lives, the captain of our souls, to be able to dictate, is this thought mine? Is this thought a good thought that's healthy, that serves me? Is this thought intrusive, that does not serve me? That may be tricking me or fooling me into believing that something is gonna go wrong or something is already wrong. And how can I use my intuition to distinguish between the two, or the three? Um, and in that, what I've discovered is giving yourself that space and time to really get to know yourself, sorting through some of the thoughts that come to mind when you're in different situations or around different people, understanding that your voice is what you have control of. And yet these thoughts may pop up at any given time and you like, well, where the hell that come from? But understanding that just because the thought appears in your head and has the voice or your voice does not necessarily mean that it is your thought. So, because these vibrations are floating around through space and time and everything in between at all times, depending on the frequency that we are in any given moment, we may align with those particular thought patterns. So, for instance, or for example, if we are think of ourselves like a radio, right? If we aren't tuned into the proper station, then we're not going to hear the music that's on that particular station. However, if we aren't like within ourselves, if we aren't used to fine tuning or have not practiced fine tuning our vibration, then we're picking up anything that comes to us that's already out there in the universe, already in rotation, if you will, and we're tuning in on that just by chance, depending on how we feel in the moment, depending on what happens to us in our lives. So you might go through a situation where somebody gets on your nerves and they piss you off, they make you mad, and now you're in a situation to where you feeling bad about yourself or bad about a person, and now you're picking up on thoughts that are like, ugh, well, maybe I shouldn't be this way, or maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I'm messing up my relationship, or I'm messing up, you know, this person, or making them feel uncomfortable because of what I'm saying. And then the thoughts just kind of start to go rolling. Just because you are in that particular vibration in the moment does not mean that the thoughts that you are thinking are coming from you. They may just be coming from source, and because you're on that particular frequency, you may be receiving some of those thoughts that are coming from who knows where. And so it's important to give time and practice to understanding, what is my voice? What does it sound like? What does it make me feel like? Getting into a constant routine or a normal routine of being able to dictate what your voice gives, when you speak internally and externally, how you speak internally and externally. That way you become accustomed to your own sound, your own voice, because even though, again, these intrusive thoughts might be in the sound of your voice on the inside, because everything sounds like you in here. Just because you may pick up on it and it sounds like you does not necessarily mean that it is you. It is your voice, or it is your thought that is coming to the surface. So thinking that through, or thinking from that perspective, looking at it through that lens, it helps you to identify if there is this outside source that is feeding you thoughts or feeding you feelings and emotions. Is that the trickster? Or is that you, your own subconscious being, that's influencing you and telling you, hey, this thing that you're feeling is not true, or this thought that you're experiencing, this scenario that you're in, may not be the way that you're seeing it in your head. This is the reason that we should talk about the things that we're going through, or the things that we experience. Finding or creating, curating a small group, or even a large group if you feel comfortable, of trusted individuals that are close to you, that know who you are. Once you get to the point to where you understand exactly how your voice is showing up inside of you, and out how you want it to show up outside in the 3D world, defining, or curating a group of individuals that know who you are, at your core, who you've established relationships with and boundaries with, and have built bonds of trust and support, so that if you are going through something and you don't know if this is your voice or if it's the voice of the intrusive thoughts influencing you, you can speak to them and get a clearer understanding of, am I tripping or is this really a thing? Just to sort through those types of thoughts and patterns and behaviors that may come to you just because you're on a particular vibration. Another way to manage or sort through those types of thoughts is to journal. Journal your thoughts and how you feel in a particular moment. If somebody pisses you off at work, jot that down. Write down, first of all the details just to be able to document it. But on top of that, write down how you're feeling. And when you have some free time, make some free time, make the time to sort through, go through, read it, sort through those feelings. Like, what triggered me to feel this way? What started to spark those thoughts? Did those thoughts come from me? Does this feel real to me? If it feels real, where does that come from? Why is this a trigger for me? Just asking yourself the questions to pull back the layers of who you are and be able to define whether or not this is angelic influenced or demonically influenced, or if it's just where you are in the moment. Is it who you are in the moment? Um, and so I don't know. I look at angels and demons in a very different light these days. I look at them like they are just out there existing, right? Because energy can't be created or destroyed. It just continues to be transferred from one state to the next. So maybe, the thought it came into being from some sentient being or non-sentient being at some point, and once that individual transitioned, that energy just went out into the universe and just is, because once it is, eternally. Once energy is in existence and thought energy is energy, once it's in existence, it just is. And so we may be picking up on something that may be um, not so good, not so pleasant for us. And because we're on a particular frequency, we're picking that up. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it is physically trying to manipulate us in a particular way, but it does come into us and plant seeds of doubt or fear or self harm, or self destruction. And in that way, we have to be able to really learn how to reprogram our minds so that if we hear something that does not compute with who we are, it does not gel with who we are, we're able to actually pick that out and address it head on. Where did this come from? Is this truly me? Is this a part of how I feel? Is this a part of what I believe? And do I want to continue to believe that? Do I want to continue to perpetuate that? If not, or is this a thought that will be beneficial to me? Is this something that will help push me past my pain points to get me to the next stage of progress? Or is this going to mold me in a way that may take me out of my comfort zone and push me to become the best version of myself? That's the difference between the angelic or the demonic voices. The angels are going to tell you, or the angelic voices are going to tell you, be sure to be your best self, continue pushing forward, try this out, this, you're moving like this, do this, and it may even discipline you in a way, or chastise you in a way to where it's like, well, you shouldn't be doing this, but yeah, you're doing it. Or you shouldn't be in this space or dealing with this person, and yet you're doing it. Why? That those may be a more angelic vibration, a more angelic intrusive thought, right? More so than that the demonic ones or the low vibrating thoughts, which might tell you, hey, um, life is going terrible right now. Ain't shit really kicking like it's supposed to. I don't have what it takes. I'm not doing my best. I don't like myself. I don't look good. Hair ain't growing. Like whatever, whatever the case may be. But it's up to us to be able to identify what's true to us, what's real to us, and what we really believe versus what's coming from who knows where that we just so happen to be picking up on at any given moment. And so having that control of our inner man and our inner state and aligning with our higher self, who's always in the right space. Just so you know, higher self never goes there. It never interacts with any of those aspects. It just is. And so it's always going to be where it's best meant to be. It's always going to bring what is best to bring. People say that like your higher self is your subconscious. And the way your subconscious works is that you program it with your consciousness, with your lower mind, if you will. So depending on what you're exposed to or what you pick up throughout life can influence what your subconscious self or your higher self brings to you. And so that's kind of how people end up in the space of like you limiting yourself or you're holding yourself back or you're being a barrier or a hindrance to yourself is because what you've been exposed to or what has happened to you has caused your brain to create these defense mechanisms to protect you. But sometimes those defense mechanisms may not be protecting you in the way that it is needed at the time, or it may have been needed in the past to protect you in that particular way. So it served a purpose, but now it may not serve you in that same purpose. Maybe you were a child at the time and you were going through a hardship or you were going through some type of traumatic situation. An intrusive thought may have come to like protect you and make you feel like, well, I have to do this or I have to manifest like this or show up like this in order for me not to be harmed or in order for me not to be in danger, and you may have become a particular person due to that influence. So it may truly have served a purpose at one time, but now you're in a different state, you're in a different place. You've aged more, you've moved through that situation, and you're no longer in that space, but you may still continue to carry that vibration inside of you because energy is not created or destroyed, it's just transferred. And so, if you have not transitioned it out of yourself and it's still living within yourself, then it may be influencing how you think, how you move, what you do, what you say. And so, it's important to do that internal work, that deep diving, what we call shadow work, in order to really define who we are, who we want to be, and then be able to notice if there are intrusive thoughts that are hindering us or helping us. So that is what I wanted to talk about today. I know it can kind of seem like it's all over the place. I'm learning to get better at expressing these concepts so that it's not so over your head or so out of pocket or different than what you know. So I'm trying to simplify it in the best terms possible. If you ever have questions or anything, you can always reach out to me at inversationpodcast@gmail.com. Type in your question and let me know. I also have the function for you to leave voice comments. So if you have questions that you want me to answer, you can always send me a voice recording that I can put on the show and I can answer your questions right from there. Hit me up. Like, tell me what you guys think about this. What do you think about this concept of angels versus demons? Do you still think that there are like sentient creatures that are out there that we don't see, or spirits that are out there that we don't see that are influencing how we move and what we do? Or do you think that it's just energy that just is that you're able to tap into based upon the frequency that you're in at a particular stage? Let me know what y'all thoughts are and what you come up with, and let's have an open conversation. I want to start doing lives on Facebook, on the Facebook page. So if you visit the Dream Incentive on Facebook, you will start to see me doing a little bit more or becoming a little bit more active in doing weekly lives and discussing these things as a community. Because I think sometimes we just listen to what other people tell us has always been the way and we accept it as truth and we keep moving forward instead of actually breaking it down to discover what it truly means, not just from a metaphorical sense or a lens of a fantasy, but how does it really show up in our normal day-to-day lives? How does it show up in us as individuals? Because I might be able to perceive it one way, but you may perceive it a totally different way. I may experience it one way and you may experience it totally different. So having those types of conversations as a community so we can really break these concepts and philosophies down and get to the root of a better understanding so we're all on the same page and not attacking each other and just saying, oh no, you crazy, you just saying that and you that's just the devil using you, all those things that we say just because we don't want to ask the question or we don't want to pose a question to God. But we are all God's children, and that means we're a part of God or God is a part of us. So we should definitely be having these conversations and exploring these concepts a little bit deeper so that we can come to a better understanding. But yeah, so that's what I got for y'all today. I do want to implement more segments and things for the show, so I'm working on that. So after this episode, if you start to see more segments and things, just get into it because we about to have some fun. Because I don't want to just continue to talk by myself. So I will definitely be inviting more guests onto the show, and adding more concepts and segments so that we can get a more defined and robust experience. So if you aren't following me, definitely follow me on social media at coach_Warren, WARREN 06. You can follow me on TikTok, on Twitter, on Instagram. You can follow me on Facebook, uh, Coach_Warren 06, all those platforms. You can also visit my website, thedreamincentive.com, where you can find all of the links to those additional channels. And you can learn about all of the services and programs that I offer. So, of course, I am a creativity, self development, and life transitions coach, and I help people to transition out of survival mode and into living the life of their dreams. If you want to learn more about that, visit the website or reach out to me via email, and I'll be more than happy to see if I might be a good fit to be your coach. But other than that, if you haven't heard it today, I love you. If you haven't smiled today, smile with me. All right, it's good to be back. I missed y'all so much. I'm excited. Let's get into it. Y'all have a great day. Deuces.